What up, y'all? This is Blake with Blake's Takes on iHeartRadio, and I'm here to present to you my South by Southwest journey. For those of you that don't know, South by Southwest is part music festival, part comedy festival, part film festival, with a whole bunch of other stuff sprinkled in, including technology, politics, and much more. During my trip, I experienced about as much as you can throughout the 10 days and still didn't even come close to hitting everything. So part of my goal with this is to show you guys the insane amount there is to do with South by Southwest. South by Southwest can be a lot of things for a lot of people, but more than anything, it's an opportunity for growth. As you'll see here, my experience was complete with free concerts, free food, free drinks, incredible people, an incredible environment, and just overall a life-changing experience. Before I get too deep into the journey itself, there are some thanks that are due. First and foremost, to Adam Bryant and his whole family for having me out there. This day could not have been what it was without Mama Dot. So thank you. Also iHeartRadio and everybody associated that helped me have this incredible experience, including Jeremy, who let me use his office for like a month to make this video. I'd also like to thank South by Southwest for granting me press credentials, which absolutely changed the whole game up. I've gone for 3 years to South by Southwest, and the years prior, I had been just straight a member of the public. So this press access gave me a whole nother level of ability to take all of this in. So thank you to them, and I hope to be out there every year from here on out covering this. I also need to give a huge shout out to the city of Austin and the people of Austin. Every single interaction I had was memorable. Thank you to everybody I met out there, including the ones I'm still in contact with and those I just had random interactions with. You guys helped make this journey what it was. So my overall goal with this video is a few things. I want you to come away with what the experience of South by Southwest can be for you. I think it can be an absolutely life-changing experience. I've been out there 3 times and have come away feeling like a person that has grown every single time. And I want that for everybody. I think it is a millennial paradise. I think any millennial that is into food, music, and drinking will have an incredible time out here. And it's also a great opportunity to get hip to new artists. That is one of the biggest things I've realized going down there. You kind of end up going to these shows that you didn't necessarily plan on going to and seeing acts that you hadn't planned on because there's just so much going on. And you come away with artists that you may have never discovered if you didn't see them live out here. So when you watch this video, every artist that you think is worth your time, look into them. That is what they're out here trying to do, is build a fan base. And I want this to be an extension of that, so you see how many different artists, both up and coming and absolute legends, that you can see out here. And most of all, I want you to feel like next year you cannot miss out on this, because frankly, you can. So without further ado, enjoy my South by Southwest 2019 journey.
So the first thing I went to start off the whole trip was the LG gallery. Again, highlighting technology. Obviously, LG is huge into technology and the advancement of it. They have robots that have electronic eyes and faces because they're meant to read human emotion, and you're supposed to be able to read their emotion. One of the coolest ones was this thing called the Fantastic. It's basically these little wands that every member of a crowd in like a sports event or a concert can hold, and they're connected by a control panel where you can put images across a whole audience. That, when you see it from the top, is a big image. They showed a sports demonstration where somebody scores a goal and you can push a button, and across the whole crowd you see a soccer ball in the lights moving and then the word goal. Like, it's next level crowd involvement. So the LG gallery was a great way to kick things off. I got to see a lot of futuristic products and stuff that really makes you feel like you are living in the future. And that's another one of those things that South by Southwest really targets, is the advancement of technology, and it becomes a place where people put it on display and premiere all these new things. So if you're interested in any of the technological end of this stuff and the advancement of technology and where all of that's going, this also is a great place to come and scratch that itch. So from there, headed over to ADP's Breaking Barriers event. If you guys have ever heard of those break rooms, the ones where you go in and get to smash a whole bunch of shit to take out some frustration, it was essentially that, but with kind of a South by thematic twist, where each room, there were 4 separate rooms that were all themed for different obstacles in the advancement of people's careers and shit. So there was a glass ceiling, which it was on International Women's Day, so the overarching one was the glass ceiling and smashing the glass ceiling for women. There was the one I did, which was the work-life balance room, which was a bunch of clocks, like old school clocks with the words work written on them, so I got to smash one of those bitches with a baseball bat. I actually got to chop it up for a second with the CMO of ADP, Lorraine Barber Miller, and she got to tell me a little bit more about what each of the rooms represented and what the idea behind the event for ADP was. You care to explain what these rooms represent and why we are breaking them?
Absolutely. So at ADP, we're envisioning a workplace that is free of barriers, and while we've made a lot of progress, we believe there's more that we can do, and so we're inviting all South by Southwest revelers to join us in metaphorically breaking 4 barriers: gender inequality, pay gap, work-life balance, and outdated work systems. And so an individual will select one of the barriers to break. They get suited up, they enter the smash room, break it, and they'll be filmed that they can then share with their social, their network.
So next I went over to Amazon, had one of the cooler ones for sure that I stopped off at, one of the more elaborate ones. They had a Garden of Eden. Yes, you heard that right. It was an actual Garden of Eden, complete with good evil themes that were set up on opposite sides to represent the show. The show's called Good Omens. It was crazy elaborate. On one side, they had all the good themed stuff. They were even giving out free hand massages and manicures on that side. They had like this little library set up that was a scene from the show. Then on the right side, you had all the evil themed stuff. They had a puppy pen. It was called the Hellhound Puppy Pen, which I thought was hilarious and also adorable.
Come on, get up, wake up. She's like, get off of me. She's like, stop it. There she is.
They had this place called the Snake Shack serving food up there, which was also themed, so they had these foods that were contrasting in flavors and played into the whole good-evil dynamic as well. And to tie together the good-evil theme through musical performance, they also had the dueling pianos in there, which, as a Chicagoan, made me feel right at home, and they did an amazing job as well. Here's a little walkthrough of the whole thing, just so you get an idea of how immersive this environment was. They were also pulling these little apples off the tree, and inside, kind of like a fortune cookie, each one had a little fortune and a little gift. You can see there where the bar was at was actually the tree. It was kind of the central part of the whole thing. And the beer tap was actually built into the tree, so when you went and got your free drinks, which was also included in the experience, but when you went to redeem the beer, they're actually pouring you the beer out of this tree, which I thought was pretty cool. This was somewhere you could definitely go and hang out and meet people and spend some time at, which I did. I also got a chance to stop by Audible's pop-up, which was themed based on their new show called Heads Will Roll, presented by Kate McKinnon, who is the creator and also stars in it as well. They did a great job making the bar their own environment. It was themed all the way throughout. They had interactive posters of the characters on the show. You could kind of get an intro to each of the characters' personalities. They had this hilarious dude out back who, for their photo op at the place, would put you in one of those guillotine thingies and assign you a different reason for why you were being quote-unquote beheaded. And I can't say that mine wasn't accurate. The detail of this one was great, even down to in the bathroom they had like audio recording that was meant to be based on the times that the show takes place.
Got bedbugs? Try the only effective solution. Burn your house down. Turn everything you've ever owned into ash. You have no other choice but burn your house down. No bed, no bugs, no problem.
So overall, it was great. It was another one of those really cool cultivated environments that they did a great job of making it feel like the show. So the first night, Deep Eddy Vodka had their Intergalactic event, which was a nice genre blending lineup. First was the up-and-coming hip-hop duo Blackalak.
And now I'm the best. This friend on the mic make me say I'm a threat. No scared try nigga, but I'm getting a check. You be making shit up like you're Jussie Smollett. Hey.
And then in the back room was like an alternative room. That's a very common thing at South by, to have two stages in the same building that have completely different genres. Another funny thing that happened too, we ended up running into this one random dude in the crowd, just chopped it up with him for a second, and we go to the back room like 20 minutes later, and he ended up actually being one of the performers, and he killed that shit. We actually got to see another thing about South by that you'll get to see is artists that would never be in venues this small and intimate perform for teeny little crowds. This band, Think No Think, they actually opened for Gary Clark Jr. on his tour, and you can tell when you see them play. a silent disco, so we checked that out at the end of the night, and I witnessed my first silent disco crowd surf. So day 2 started off on a raw note. The first thing I went to was one of the panel sessions that I was actually counting on not being able to get into, and it was for Trevor Noah and the Daily Show cast.
Honestly, like, he's almost a savant when it comes to his tweeting, because there are tweets that he's written about the future that have come true. There's things that, like, he's predicted things. We just don't appreciate him. That's the thing.
Mostly about himself, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's still genius.
He talked about how everybody in their cast brings their own opinions, and they love that.
And what I love about everyone sitting on the stage is everyone comes in with their own opinions, and everyone's engaging in the news in different ways.
And they talked about a lot of real issues. They talked about keeping people informed, the need they feel to do that, and especially in a time like this.
They should be informed. It shouldn't be about how you eat a corn dog. It should be about how you're going to treat Americans who eat too many corn dogs with healthcare. And the important thing, though, is the corn. Of course, the corn dog stays. I mean, that I've accepted in America. I understand this. That's not given. Yes. But I think that's really what our journey is going to be now, is accurately giving you a journey and a story of what is going on, so that if you watch The Daily Show at least, I would like you to be able to go to your voting station knowing what your candidate stands for or against. That's the one thing I would like to do, is focus on policy. I would like to create a show, and I strive to create a show every day that informs you about what's happening in your world. I've tried to bring in more international stories, even if it's just to give you an inkling of an idea that is happening. One thing that I took for granted growing up in South Africa is we just knew what was happening in the world. We just knew. We knew if there was a war happening in Burundi. We knew if a president was having issues in a random country in the Middle East. We knew if Asia was having problems with its stock markets. We just knew these things.
I love Trevor Noah and all of them. I'm a big fan of The Daily Show and everything they do. So that was a lot of fun to get to go see, and also kind of gives a taste of the comedy aspect of South by Southwest that also exists outside of the music and the film and all that. So just another aspect of entertainment that's available to you at South by Southwest. Then I went to Vice. Actually had another one of the really cool pop-ups that I've seen. They had what they called Skateland, and they do something every year. They bring the Vice bus out and throw something every year, but this year they decided to have a pop-up roller rink. I was so glad I caught this too, because the DJ was even addressing it. You can hear him. But tell me why these two girls were battling in the middle for a minute, and they actually knew how to dance and do all this shit on skates. And this dude came up and served them up crazy.
Money talking down in my cavity, scooping up all my bitches out of magazine. Party in my virtual reality, hopping up out of space for gravity. I need me somebody to take the edge off. Take to that pay, don't let it down.
But that actually was a really cool experience for me because, again, being out here alone, everything I've said to you so far is just me navigating to. But the social anxiety didn't go away day one. I still have that, and I'm still battling it. But at the Vice thing, I kind of had a moment of forcing myself out of my comfort zone even a little more than already being down in Texas on my own at this. And I almost didn't want to skate. I just, people were trash out there, and you'd see people fall every couple seconds. For whatever reason, I literally almost came in, documented, and left without skating. And I had a moment of like, nah, bitch, like, go do it. Why not? So from the Vice Skateland, I went on to one of the ones I'm very glad I got to go to for AOC, Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. To see that level of excitement from various ages and cultures and backgrounds and all that, that's what politics should look like to me. And then you walk into the room and that place was buzzing and just so ready for her to come in and slay that shit. She touched on a bunch of different issues. She talked about how her winning her election had inspired young people and how she thought that was going to become a progressive swing in politics with an infusement of young people bringing their ideas and kind of seeing politics as a real avenue that they could succeed in and make a difference in.
Young people aren't supposed to run, working class people aren't supposed to run, people that have not been groomed for a very long time aren't supposed to run, let alone win. And when we did yesterday, it feels like yesterday, when we did last year, I think it kind of created this shock in the system where suddenly a lot of other people said, wait a second, maybe I can do this too. And I think that is what is behind this surge. It's not like this top-down organizing apparatus, but it's really this movement starting to translate into more of our electoral politics than we probably anticipated.
She also went on an epic anti-capitalism rant, which capitalism is evil if you haven't figured that out already. But she highlighted the millennial belief and this dismissal of the old head idea that, oh, capitalism is the way to go.
Capitalism to me, it's an ideology of capital. It puts capital, the most important thing is the concentration of capital, and it means that we seek and prioritize profit and the accumulation of money above all else, and we seek it at any human and environmental cost. That is what that means. And to me, that ideology is not sustainable and cannot be redeemed. But when we talk about ideas, for example, like democratic socialism, it means putting democracy and society first instead of capital first. It doesn't mean that you put other things last. It doesn't mean that the actual concept of capital as a society should be abolished or anything like that. But it's a question of our priorities.
And she's been talking about the climate change stuff, so we all kind of figured it would come up eventually. But the way it came up was crazy unexpected and was one of the wildest moments I saw out there, for real, especially for the 90s babies. At the end, she did questions, and I recognized this dude's voice right when he started talking, and I was like, there's no fucking way. And so somebody just walked up to the mic, and you look up on the screen, you hear his voice, and it is Bill fucking Nye.
See you all. I can't take selfies with everyone. Keep in mind, here's what I think's going on. I want to ask the question in two ways. As you may know, I'm a white guy. I belong to two unions, but I think the problem on both sides is fear.
Yep.
And I think that's what's going on with many of the conservatives, especially when it comes to climate change. People are just afraid of what will happen if we try to make these big changes.
This is amazing. So I think one of the keys, the Green New Deal is technologically possible, but is it politically possible? And so that to me is the biggest, condemnation of where we're at, because there is an admission, an actual admission that we can do it. And just the idea that our biggest obstacle is political will should be the most embarrassing thing for us right now. We can't allow ourselves to be governed by fear anymore. We can't allow ourselves to be governed by that kind of rationale, to say, I'm not going to allow fear to control me anymore. I am going to stand up and do the courageous thing.
And just overall, incredible as I expected. Her passion is contagious, and I hope it carries into the political world. We need to swing in the direction of the morals and values that she stands on and she represents. So thank you, AOC, for inspiring a lot of young people out there and a lot of old people as well. So after that, it was over to ACLU's 100th anniversary concert. For those of you that don't know, the ACLU fights for everybody's rights. I mean, at a time in this country where the government itself and the president and all his minions are, coming for people's rights and trying to take them away, the ACLU actively fights for the rights of immigrants, for undocumented workers, for morality, really, for, logic and morality to allow people to live their lives in ways that they should be able to in a country that claims to be the land of opportunity and freedom and shit. So the ACLU basically holds us to that standard, as they should. And their concert that they threw as a celebration of 100 years of service was headlined by a couple of absolute legends. They had Tom Morello, who was the guitarist for Rage Against the Machine and is generally known as one of the best guitarists in the world, as well as Questlove, who was doing a DJ set.
This is an amazing organization that fights for women's rights, LGBTQ rights, voter reform.
Tom Morello was absolutely incredible. I literally did not know it was possible to play a guitar like this man played a guitar right in front of me. But Tom Morello, man, slayed that shit. Great way to start, but also had a rock star moment at this shit. Because at the end of his set, he kind of just started talking and was like, all right, we're going to do something here. Y'all come on stage with me for this last couple songs. And obviously when he said that, mayhem. And then proceeded to mosh on stage with Tom Morello.
I want y'all to join me on stage. Don't come up here, come around this side. These things say don't stand on them, that's real. We want to make the papers for the right reasons. Come on up, come on up. Don't step on my shit, move all the way over there so there's room for the other ones. Come on up.
So after that, we hopped off stage and peeped a Questlove DJ set. DJs. Not everybody really DJs and sits there and mixes the stuff live, but he does that. So a great finishing touch to a great show. Shouts to the ACLU. Thank you again for having me out there and putting on an amazing show, not only concert-wise, but thank you for highlighting the serious issues that do need to be addressed, and everyone was very receptive to it. So it was a nice, uplifting experience all the way around. The next day, which was Sunday the 10th, just so we know where we're at, and that was the first day where shit got real for me, because the first concert I knew that I was going to camp out and wait for was Miguel. The event that it was marketed as was very cool too, and again, very South by-like, and it was Michelob's Pure Golden Hour. The event was designed to market their new Pure Gold beer. It was going to be a group-led meditation, followed by a performance that included Cautious Clay, Bishop Briggs, and Miguel. They have a string quartet, and right when that happened and they came out with, introduced the string quartet, I was like, oh my God, Miguel plus a string quartet. You just don't see that. For the meditation part of the Golden Hour event, they really asked us to hand ourselves over to the experience. A few of the things, for those of you that haven't been through any type of group meditation, because I hadn't before this, they took us through group vocal exercises. One of the ones I remember was they asked you to picture somebody that you loved and somebody that you wanted to forgive, and a few different categories of people, and asked everybody to make different tones of hum based on what he was asking us to do in unison. And in a place like that where it was an amphitheater, sonically it was just beautiful. And so you kind of come out of it in this really nice, relaxed mood, and the string quartet starts playing, and Cautious Clay comes out.
But if we just spoke like we meant to, for true for friends, this open part of me, the minute I know the time we spent came corrected in my anatomy.
Then Bishop Briggs, who I wasn't hip to, but had talked to some people in the audience who loved her, and she came out and slayed that shit too.
When a crazy world held on earth, I'ma be your love, 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 love. I'ma be your love.
And then obviously, man, Miguel came out, and he's a superstar.
Cultivate, plant your seeds now and watch them grow. Man, I'll let you later. Let you find out what we're made of. I'm just saying, is that the look of freedom? Now, is that the sound of freedom? Maybe we're done. Let's take the iron out. So we all feeling love now, huh?
He did an original composition of Adorn with a string quartet. Like, when do you get to see that?
Baby, these lips can't wait to taste our skin. Baby, no more. And these eyes, darling. Now it's over, and this thing trying to break us down. Don't let that affect us. No, baby, you just gotta let my. Please make some more noise for the incredible musicians and people.
And this ended at 7:30 p.m. I had planned, and this is why, again, scheduling is key at this shit, because I thought that was going to be my whole night. Well, lucky for me, caught that Nelly had not come on yet at Vivo. So I walked my happy ass from Miguel over to Nelly. This one ended up being fun in particular because it kind of turned into this 90s babies party. This was our stuff. This is what we learned to get ratchet to in the first place.
I wouldn't leave it for nothing. Only a crazy man would. So when they catch me in your city, somewhere out of the hood, just say, smile for me, man. What you looking at? You wanna see that kid? You wanna see my what? Yeah, you can. You can. I robbed the jewelry store. I told him make me a grill. Just a little bit of. A little bit of. Hold a little bit of. Hey yo, I was like, good case, that's foundation. Her case, trying to show patience. Waiting for the right time. I nigga waiting for the right time. I need you to get up on the dance floor. Get out there, what he asking for. Cause I feel like what's to lose, and I feel like what you and and can't nobody stop with you. So let me tell you what's the use. I say, it's getting hot in here. So take off all your clothes. Hey, I don't know what else to do. Can't go on not loving you. Cause it's all in my head. I think about it over and over again. And I can't keep what you really was here. And it hurts so bad. Yeah.
And honestly, as a performer, he still got it.
Put it up, put it up, put it up, put it up, put it up. Come on now. If you wanna go take a ride with me, dream willing to the phone with the goldies. Oh, wow.
Before I keep going, I do want to touch on one overarching thing about South by that y'all need to know about, and it is this free food. When I say free food, y'all think I'm playing and think that there's something you have to do to earn this and shit, and I'm telling you, you just get handed all this crazy food and drink and desserts left and right. I ate probably better than I ever have in a 12-day period and paid not a goddamn cent. And so from there, I went to one of the things I got to go to that I was most impressed by, that was completely different than anything else I went to. The Daily Show's presidential Twitter library. They had a nickname generator that generated the nickname that President Trump would give you. Mine was Sleazy Blake. Accurate. They even had this set of little mini hands with a phone in it just to mock that. The comedy makes itself. That's why it's so great. It's mostly framed tweets from this fucking idiot we got running this place. They had different walls with different framed tweets that had different themes along with them. So like one of them was constructive criticism, and that Django tweet there had me in tears. They also touched on some serious issues with his social media posts, one of them being the birther theory that he kind of birthed for lack of a better term, which real early on highlighted the xenophobia that he continues to display constantly. They also highlighted his explicit attacks on women, as well as on people of color, but in particular athletes and prominent people of color that speak up to him. They had this giant map and kind of framed it as the world according to Trump, and they matched up the numbers on the countries with times he had tweeted about these countries in negative and ignorant ways. The Dennis Rodman one in particular was pure comedy. They had one display that highlighted his relationship with Fox News and how he tweets basically immediately after they report on certain things, showing how he is literally just getting his information from one biased news source, which was funny on display like this, but also terrifying. They had a bunch of different videos playing throughout the museum as well.
My son Donald did a good job last night. He was open, transparent, and innocent. This is the greatest witch hunt in political history. Sad.
One of them was called Sad, a retrospective, which was kind of a mocking of his whole overuse of all this sad bullshit that just makes him sound dumb. One of the videos was a dramatization of what they thought the 11 minutes that Donald Trump notoriously was off of Twitter was like.
Doing some research on different races, Asian, black, white, black on Asian, Latino, and Latinos.
Clear on it, I just totally forgot Trump's nicknames with people. Like, was it Cricket Freeze? Why? What is it called?
I actually started having contractions. No, it was that bad.
The main movie they had playing was like this 10-minute thing documenting kind of the rise of his Twitter following.
Twitter was the ideal medium for future President Trump. Immediate, no filter, grammar, super optional. In seeing its earth-shaking potential, Trump used Twitter to communicate only his most important thoughts. Thoughts such as, the Mar-a-Lago Club has the best meatloaf in America. Tasty. I have never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke. And of course, how did you like Michelle Obama's bangs last night? With his follower count surging, Trump would now harness the power of Twitter to fuel his political rise. What started as just asking questions about whether the United States president was born in the United States blossomed into a full-blown run for the White House. And the media awaited each Trump tweet like the hungry little bitches they are.
Tonight, to tweet with his taco bowls.
Breaking news, Donald Trump is tweeting something right now.
A Twitter tirade.
November 8th, 2016, Twitter helped Trump cruise to an easy victory over Hillary Clinton, defeating her in the Electoral College and the popular vote. If you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally, would the weight of the presidency change Donald Trump? Not even a little. After taking office, the 70-year-old Trump kept tweeting with the vigor of a person 60 years his junior. Why? Because America demanded it.
Let me ask you, should I keep the Twitter going or not? Keep it going? I think so.
It took 6 years and 36,000 tweets for Trump to get where he is today. Did he make mistakes? Sure. But as he sits in the very historic Oval Office ordering diet soft drinks at the press of a button, President Donald Trump knows the hashtag truth.
He said that he does not regret anything, especially the things that he says on Twitter, and he also says that he believes that without Twitter, he would not be president.
But president he is, And if we're lucky, President Trump will continue tweeting long into his second term, and his third, and his fourth. So thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Twitter. All of this is because of you.
They had somehow gotten a hold of President Trump's inauguration cake, which you're probably thinking is impossible because a cake can't last that long. And the irony is, he actually had a fake cake made. They had a little explanation placard right there explaining, and it was actually biting off Obama's inauguration cake. And he had a fake one made to try and look more presentable and whatever, better than a regular cake, and got caught doing that, and they somehow got a hold of it and put him on blast for it, which was fucking hilarious. They also had on display this giant timeline of his growth as a tweeter, if you want to call it that. And it showed all the way to present day, where after winning the election, he clearly felt more empowered. All these show how clearly self-conscious this man is. And kudos to whoever wrote these things, man, because The Daily Show really said that Jay-Z tweet was the biggest condemnation of Jay since Lemonade. Like, this dude was really tweeting about the relationship between the Twilight actors. That shit is hilarious. A lot of irony in that incompetence tweet. They had a Trump versus Trump exhibit that showed times he directly contradicted himself through tweets of his own. The golfing example, a very relevant one considering how much time this man has spent on a golf course. They also have my favorite feature, which in the corner is a roped off giant screen that's dedicated to a live Twitter feed of his that has an alarm attached to it for whenever he tweets. And yes, it does really go off. I wasn't there for it and I'm salty, but I talked to some people that were there and it is pure comedy. And they also had a cool photo op where you got to take a picture on the throne, but you know I had to put Ohio State on the throne one time, and I hit him with a vicious Trump face, if you ask me. So the Twitter library itself, incredible. Shouts to The Daily Show. They fucking killed that. It is absolutely hilarious, and anybody, I think they travel it. Anybody gets a chance to go see that should. So after that, this day in particular, I wanted to include this in here, and I thought about not, because I didn't want to include negative necessarily. I turned this into not negative, which is why I care to include it. And it was part of the growing experience I had out here for real. So after the Twitter library, I went to one of those pop-up bars just to kick it, and I turned at one point, and my bag is gone. And being the socially anxious person I am already, being the navigationally terrible person I am already, and being out there by myself, for a split second there, I was in full panic mode in my head. I caught myself, thank God, but I kind of looked down and realized what was happening and started taking note. Thank God the camera was around my neck. So that was the first thing. I kind of was just thankful I had that. I had my phone. I had, really when I started counting it, I hadn't lost anything irreplaceable. I'd lost my charger and my portable and some other little things I had bought and whatnot, but nothing irreplaceable or super expensive, thank God. And so I kind of gathered myself, and it was early in the day, and the biggest obstacle at that point in my mind was the fact that I didn't have a phone charger, and I also don't know directions, which I need to GPS getting everywhere, and I also, at the end of the whole night, know I need to call a rideshare from the train when I get back to get home. So I needed to keep my phone alive, and that became the biggest issue, which I figured it out. It was actually kind of crazy. The next show I went to, just to transition into that because it did, and I'll touch back on this later. The story's not over. But after that, I kind of gathered myself, was like, all right, we're good. Moved on to the Francis and the Lights show. Francis was headlining Showtime House, and they teamed up with Culture Collide to throw a day of music celebrating Rick Rubin. And I walk in, and one of the features they have at this place is a giant machine where it has individual compartments where you can unlock your phone, where you create a combo, and it charges it. So walk in right away, and South by had an answer for me. So that was pretty wild how that played out. The Francis show, another one where it was at a very small place. I've seen Francis do stadiums and destroy it.
It'll be so safe. It's so helpful. Oh, 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 oh. It will all just prove, yeah. Yeah. I know it's got so bad. I know it's got so bad, y'all. You can't look up. I know you can't go back. That's not the way time goes. You can never go. Oh. Why do we lie to each other and try to? Let's dance. We could be friends. Put your head on my shoulder. I'm Francis, and I'm still dreaming of a glory, but something new. Oh, I'm looking for you now. From a free man, if you need to, I'll tell you. How's the sound out there? All the things we carry. Now we're down to our feet. Say what? May I have this dance to make it up to you? Can I say something crazy? I love you. Know you've been looking for something concrete, but you must have been born with two right feet. To make it up to you. Say what? Say what? I love you more than others. Good show, y'all. Good show. Good show. I don't want to dance anymore because I just gotta.
Afterwards, he did his set and just came down and was kicking it with everybody. South by definitely a place where these guys are much more comfortable in this environment, talking to you and chilling and kind of just kicking it with everybody because that's what it is and it's an accepted thing. So went and saw Francis, and then afterwards, back on the phone grind, decided I'm just gonna go home. Don't want to have to, stay out for hours and worry about my phone. Went to the train station, and that was where I had one of the craziest interactions I've ever had. So I sit down and end up chopping it up with the train conductor for like an hour. We were talking about some real shit. So at the end of it, he overheard me on the phone about to get on the train, and I had called my homie's mom I was staying with to let her know that, my stuff had gotten stolen. And he overheard me explaining how my bag had gotten taken and how I lost my charger. So I hung up the phone and got ready to get on the train. And this dude reaches in his pocket and gives me his phone charger out of his pocket. So I'm already thrown. I was sitting on the train at this point, getting ready to pull out. I was like, man. And he had overheard me talking about losing the portable charger too. So I don't even know if this was his. I have no idea where this guy pulled this out of in 2 seconds. But he came he opened the train doors to come back on the train, tapped me on the shoulder, and handed me a portable charger and said, pay it forward, and then dipped. Like, I had to sit there for a second and really take in what happened. Like, that's selfless. And like, I get it, it's a phone charger and it's a portable. It's not a kidney. But the organic way that he was just so willing to help me out like that. I got home at the end of that night and I was like, 7 hours ago, I was freaking out and hating people for a second because some broke boy took my bag. And to have put that energy out there and then have ran into the charger at the Francis show and then run into this train conductor who handed me a fucking charger and portable out of his pocket And so I came away way more inspired by people than I ever thought I could at the moments when I realized somebody had stolen my shit. South by, man, is a magic place in a lot of ways. And some of the ways you can't even plan or write or fall into on purpose or even under good circumstances. But that was one of those where that shit was special. One way or another, that shit was special. So very glad to have gone through exactly what I went through that day, because if I didn't have this story on the back end to tell, I might not have as much faith in humanity as I do if I would have just kept my fucking bag. So next day, Tuesday the 12th, already obviously, started the day feeling pretty good about how everything had played out. So the first thing I went to that day was a session on podcasting and the future and past and the growth of the market, featuring among others the CMO of Spotify, Dawn Ostroff.
At how we can really support in terms of investment and resources the industry at large, because we really believe that it will have a huge future.
She talked about the different ways podcasts can look to monetize, as well as the different ways companies look to invest in the future of podcasting for content of their own.
We're seeing podcasts increase in the U.S. alone beyond anything I think any of us could have imagined.
And so the next thing I went to was Hemp Today, presented by Cannabis Now, which was South by Southwest's first ever hemp-themed event. Information. That was the biggest thing that they were pushing, was education on really the depth that the hemp and CBD markets can go to. And they had these terpenes on display. They're very similar to essential oils in that you know exactly where you're getting them from. The extract is down to a science. You get some free product. They're giving out free G-Pens along with CBD oil and samples. They had pet CBD oil, which I didn't even know was a thing, to help animals with chronic illness, or you can use it topically as well. There's actually a lot to this. And it's interesting. It's very, it's cool to see the people that know more about this shit figuring out how to use it in these ways. I got to chop it up with the CEO and founder of Cannabis Now, Eugenio Garcia, about how their setup came to be and the idea behind Cannabis Now and who they try and market to, as well as why this event in particular was such a big step for them.
Hemp Today is presented by Cannabis Now. First ever South by Southwest CBD and hemp activation. We're in Austin, Texas. We are now just past 420. We've had an athlete panel with pro athletes like Matt Barnes. We had scientists on stage. We've been educating and entertaining all day. We have a dab lounge going upstairs. But it's really a historical moment. In Texas, THC is still illegal. CBD is in a gray area ever since President Trump approved hemp federally. Each state has been asked to identify their laws in regards to CBD and hemp. Texas has not created any laws yet. So actually right now it's a big step forward for South by Southwest to approve a CBD and hemp activation. And for me, it really allows the fans to see what's cutting edge in culture, which is what South by Southwest has always been about. So Cannabis Now is the leading magazine in the nation for cannabis culture for the enlightened, responsible user.
So after hitting the Cannabis Now house, it was on to another one of the big events that when I had seen it on the schedule, I knew I was posting up for. And this one was Tiny Desk's Family Hour. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tiny Desk, it is NPR's concert series. They have these artists come in and do these intimate little acoustic sets, but it's physically at a desk. And so I knew not only was it going to be a great show, but it was at a church. So before the show started, Bob and his homie kind of described how Tiny Desk itself, the concept, started at South by Southwest.
Yeah, March Madness was going on, so everybody was watching TV, and it was chaos. And I leaned over to Bob and in order to add to the din, and I said a word that I will not say in a church. And I said, "This is ridiculous. The next time Laura Gibson's in DC, we should just have her play at your desk." And I've been eating lunch off that sentence for 11 years now.
Lineup-wise, this was probably the most varied set of artists between any of the shows I went to. So first up they had, and I don't think the audience at all was emotionally prepared for out the gates how this was going to go, but Galen Lee, who is a folk singer, violinist, but she actually was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a genetic condition. So she is, physically disabled. In 2016, she won NPR's Tiny Desk contest that they had, and Bob had chosen her.
As we start this contest, people say, "So what do you look for?"
in a winner? Like, what is it about the winner? Why are they a winner? They might not be the best singer or the best guitar player, the best. What we look for is something I think of as singularity. And what I mean by that is that only that person can make that music.
To see Cautious Clay again. Definitely one of the best up-and-coming artists I saw out there. After that, Bob had John Paul White come out, who was one half of the duo The Civil Wars. And then they brought out this group called Mountain Man, which is a folk trio. And they brought out Gina Chavez, who is a bilingual Latin American folk singer. And we had a nice comedic relief, a group called Fragile Rock, which for those of you that don't know who they are, they're basically a puppet comedy punk rock band. Yes, you heard that right. They have a song called Antidepressed, and they just had people in the crowd screaming out the antidepressants they use, and everybody was kind of cheering in support.
Shout out to other antidepressants. What other antidepressants? Just shout them out right now. What antidepressants are you on?
It's just bringing people together.
Any band can go, where are you from? Milwaukee, but we're shouting out the things we take every day to keep us sane.
About some good old Prozac.
Obviously, all these artists I'm really glad I saw and killed it. I didn't see one performance that wasn't amazing, but one of them, man, that blew me away was Amanda Palmer.
It got me angry, which is good, because then I wrote a song. You worship the sun and you're aching for change. Watching everyone I
She did a performance of this one song she has called The Ride, which is a 10-minute ballad.
It's just a ride, and you've got the choice to get off anytime. It's just a ride. It's just a ride from the baby you lost to the one that you're growing inside. Come on outside and don't you cry. It's just a ride.
Not to take away from any of the artists that performed this, because they were all incredible, but there was one artist in particular that when they announced he was about to be there, got a significantly different reaction from the crowd than I think most of the other artists got, and that was Wyclef.
Crazy.
My name is Wyclef Jean. And I was born in Haiti. I'm from the islands, baby. This is how we look where we come from, baby. We all this, baby.
I had never seen him live, so I didn't appreciate the smoothness that this man operates with. As they were setting up, he started just freestyling about the setup.
Ever since I was little, I had a gift of words. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, my name is Wyclef. I bring no drama. You like my black hat? They snapping away with the cameras. The sound man trying to fix the guitar, and that's just the life of a ghetto superstar. Every time I make a run, girl, you turn around and cry. I ask myself why? See, you must understand, the hustler can't work no 9 to 5. So I'll be gone till November. Said I'll be gone till November. I'll be gone till November, yeah. Tell my girl I'll be gone till November. I'll be gone till November. If I was president, I'll get elected on Friday, assassinated on Saturday, yeah, buried on Sunday. Then no wonder everybody goes back to work, yeah, like nothing happened. It's just important every day if I was the president.
He also did a really cool portion of his performance where he had 2 up-and-coming artists that he'd been working with come out with him and perform.
Donde Carlos entrena. La colombiana, la dominicana, la venezolana, la americana. Someone please call 911. Tell them mother's got shut down, and the bullets in my heart, and it's piercing through my soul.
And to close it out, one I wasn't hip to and I'm so glad I saw because I fucking love her, is McKaylee 47.
For those of you who don't know, J.I.D 47. Woo! Yeah! And this is the TSA band. Freshman here, downstairs, baby, please, no minor. And I know that you're minor. And that's it, who's that? Who's that? And then I don't care, you're over. Now I see just how they sit. I just play, I don't care. I know. So what I gotta ask? Girl, I gotta ask.
To close it out, LaKaylee got everybody up out of their seats and into the aisles of this church and had everybody dancing in this beautiful church at the end of this amazing acoustic night. It was just a great way to go out. So shouts to everybody that performed at that. Shouts to NPR and Bob Boylan for putting on an incredible performance. Music can be a religious-ass experience, and that's definitely what that felt like, and I think that's what they were going for. Another thing about South by as a whole that I want to touch on so y'all are aware, if you do go down to experience it, one of the things you definitely should check out is the random shit happening on the street. And there's also some crazy random pop-up shit. There's everything from technology to interactive demonstrations to all kinds of wild shit that you see just walking up and down 6th Street. One of the things I stumbled into in the street that was super random was this stress conversion machine. It was basically this big padded room where you go in and scream and exert as much energy as you can, and they calculated how much energy everybody exerted when they went in there, and it was used as like a de-stressing activity, which was a lot of fun because people are walking by and rooting for people. Now I just happened to stop by when 2 dudes went in there and knocked off the high score at the time.
A lot of stress, they have a lot of stress, probably because of the machine.
I don't know.
Oh my god, they really make
They are beating it.
They might make Oh my god, they get really close. They beat it!
So I actually had planned on going to more sessions that day, but decided, both because I was hungry and because part of me wanted to just go explore and see what I ran into. So I decided to go to Torchy's, which is famous for being one of the most bomb Mexican places down there. They had a pop-up restaurant that they did where it was one of those you wait in line, but once you get in, it is straight up free tacos, free open bar. Because it was such a big deal free food-wise, the line was actually pretty wild, and I almost decided to leave. One of the biggest reasons I ended up staying was I kind of looked, and on their lawn, they had this dude sitting here, and he was an artist. It looked like he was painting, but there was this big, like, tarp-looking thing sitting in front of him, and on the other side was another person. I had no idea what it was. I saw it, and I literally was like, I don't know what's going on there. And this is one of those things, once I realized what he was doing, I was like, this motherfucker is a genius. He was pointing a laser pointer on his end, on the sheet, where he wanted the person on the other side to draw. People were drawing on it with these big oily type of crayons that leaked through. And on the other side, he, on some straight Prodigy art shit, would smooth it out with his ID. That's what he was doing it with. On his side was this crazy picture with like a house and a person's face in front of it that he had painted, but also had people as they come up instructed. So it was like this communal painting. He was sitting in front of the giant mural that was the front of where the Torchy's thing was that he had painted. His name's Wiley Ross Art, for those of you that want to go follow him on Instagram. So I ended up grabbing some free tacos and drinks there, meeting some cool people, and then headed over to Tierra Whack. So Tierra Whack was slated to perform at Collide and Dr. Martin's event thrown at Container Bar. I've been hip to Tierra for a second now since Whack World came out, and she is as talented as it gets, flat out.
You guys for actually showing up. I wasn't sure if people were gonna show up to see me, but like I feel so fucking good.
She's so genuinely humble, and you can tell she isn't necessarily used to getting this yet.
Crack kills if it don't get your whack will. Say crack kills if it don't get your whack will.
I hope you don't like me neither.
the words to all her shit, like every single song. And she's not an artist that you always see that for.
Hey, 1, 2, 3, word. Don't worry about me, I'm doing good, alright. It's about to get ugly, just so mean, I just can't be polite. Catch up in hot sauce. Cause I do not like soft. My nigga shout with the lights off. Here goes some swag you can bite off.
She came out, first 3 minutes, she took off her boots. She has, I don't even know how much those cost. Those look like expensive boots, Tiara. And threw them the fuck off into the crowd.
She threw her fucking boots. He goes like ABC, MTV.
I just threw my fucking boots out there. Those are the only shoes I have. Okay? So you guys gotta sing this shit, okay?
Hey.
Hands up.
Hey.
Hands up.
He goes like ABC, MTV, men touch vagina, BET, bitches eating tacos. I miss my dog. My dog had a name. Whoa. Keeping his name alive. If I had to leave,
We have to make everybody else jealous of this show, okay? Let's go. Hands up. Put your motherfucking hands up. Touch the motherfucking sky. Throw your hands like this. Hey. Oh, you have to be ignored. Whoa. Boy, big boy. Whoa. Keep calling my phone. Yeah. She's dead like a corpse. Corpse. Right now we soar.
She actually FaceTimed her mom in the middle of the performance just to show her kind of how the crowd was reacting and shit.
You got your camera out? Is my mom still on FaceTime? She's still on FaceTime? What's up, Mom? We gotta show her how the fuck we do this shit. Let's go, Zach.
Hey, 1, 2, 3, word. He likes my diamonds and my pearls. I said that you are designing. 607.
Nope. Zach, I told you about smoking cigarettes. I hate fucking cigarettes.
That's all good.
I think I just fell in love.
I've been so 607. Never I'm happy it makes you mad. I hope your ass burns out in a red. You remind me of my deadbeat dad. Fuck off.
Also, it was the first time a lot of her songs have been performed live.
1, 2, 3, let's You must be the only child because you're so stingy. I've been on a fuck you wild. Why you don't defend me? Darling, I've been calling on God for you. Oh, for you.
And she got a huge ovation at the end. She put on an incredible performance. Again, one of those that had a small venue. And at this point in her career, when people don't realize that she is of that superstar status and talent level, was just an incredible one to be at. It was great to be able to be in that crowd and show her the appreciation that she deserves. And you could tell it meant a lot to her. So after that, I ended up linking back with the homies I met. And so we went to Events DC, was hosting their House of DC Heroes event. The headliner was Glitch Mob, but we walked in and people playing 2K on fucking beanbag chairs. They had giant screens with Super Smash and Fortnite and all types of shit. It was like this giant combined event. We got free drinks. It was like fruity drinks too. My drink had a Rice Krispie treat in it. Y'all understand what was going through my head when my drink had a Rice Krispie treat in it? The combined shit that's going on, it's almost overwhelming. You're like, I'm getting food and drinks and a concert and video games and like, what the fuck's going on? Glitch Mob actually played a remix of Seven Nation Army. Anybody from Buckeye Nation knows that that is our shit. the next day is really when shit started getting wild. Tierra Whack was kind of a nice launch into everything, but Thursday the 14th, I already knew and had it marked. There was a DMX show. To open up at Revolt House, got to peep a few up-and-coming artists. To start with, we had Destiny Rogers, who is a great young up-and-coming singer. This dude T-Dub-O, who I wasn't hip to before, who is Tyron Woodley, the Fighters artist, also performed there. Contrail was up next, and he's a mass appeal artist. Childish Major, who's out of Atlanta, I got to see as well. And the DJ announces, and they shine a light up to the balcony where the VIP is, that fucking Big Boy of Outkast and CeeLo and Goody Mob are in the house just watching. So another one of those South by ass things that these dudes go to each other's shows and shit. We got to perform Kryptonite for Big Boy. And then we performed Fuck You for CeeLo. I had a couple cool conversations with some fans in there. This one dude was like, bro, DMX is my favorite rapper. I'm telling him, I'm like, bro, appreciate this. You're never gonna see this again. And so I accidentally had my camera recording for this and didn't know it, and ended up catching parts of these conversations.
I've never seen him live. 20 fucking feet away. Let's go. This guy's legend. Swear to God, hip hop legend.
Like Kendrick, this is Kendrick's favorite rapper.
This motherfucker makes me like myself.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. I uppercut myself. Just listening to it.
And then another kid, there was this teenage dude from Chicago who was the same shit turned to me. He was like, bro, like, I understand DMX's influence. I'm like freaking out right now.
Bro, this is one of my
I love hearing that in the background. You'll never see this like that. 20 fucking feet away.
I'ma take yours.
I did it. Yeah, right.
Even before DMX gets on stage, all this shit is happening. I just got in, all these cool conversations, and then, bro, I saw DMX perform from 15 fucking feet away.
Flash on my flash. All my niggas get down like it is not a fucking churches, the prophets are heartbroken lovers. It happens too often. The problems, the things we use to solve. Yonkers, the problems, Brooklyn, Harlem, get it on the floor, get it on the floor, get it on the floor, get it on the floor. You don't know the party, but the way it's gotta go. You don't know the party, but the way it's gotta go.
Let's get it on.
I knew from the start that this life wasn't mine. That's why from the start I put my life on the line. Gangsters run around crying about dying. I got faith, I'ma go when it's my time. You know I got away. You know that pussy man, I'm not gonna jeopardize my life. So what is it you want from a nigga? I gave you, bitch. I played you, you played me. Try it.
Katrina, Sabrina, about 3 Tim, Toya, Tina, Shelly, Bridget, Kathy, Rashida, Kelly, Nicole, Angel, Juanita, Stacy, Tracy, Rhonda. The dog is here.
He's emotional. He's a very emotional dude, DMX. You could feel that this was an important show for him to an extent because he hadn't been out and about like this. He just got out of jail. That man has been through some shit. And so I think he needed, South by is a very loving environment for artists. And he felt that shit. He seemed like he needed that. Like at the end of his performance, you know, he let out a tear or two and kind of embraced it.
You think that I'm up here doing something for you. I'm up here and you're doing something for me.
So just to see him, again, another timely one. He's just getting back out. Seems like he's having a little bit of a resurgence. Yeah, like, man, to see DMX, that's a fucking legend in a room of 150 people. For the second year in a row, Carnage threw his heavyweight Royal Rumble event at Stubbs. He brings out some of his homies that he's made music with, and they put on a showcase, and he performs a set as well. I wasn't hip to NLE Choppa before I went out there, but Carnage brought him out, and he fucking killed that shit. The crowd was going nuts and knew all his shit, and I was like, how do I not know who this is? He brought out some special guests because he's worked with a lot of people, obviously. He brought out Rico Nasty. He brought out Trey the Truth. Shouts to Trey the Truth. Every year that man is out there doing like 20 shows, doing everything he can to be a host for the city, and he does a great job every year.
On that past glow, his legacy carries on. His heartbeat bumps through my flesh and bone. I'm flipping with Trey, marking down MLK. Blue over gray, tipping 7 dudes today. Doug K, chiefing on some love, man. And we down in Austin, Texas, but we gon' swing and a swing and a swing to the left. Pop my trunk, yeah.
Carnage always known for putting on a great show, and he did not disappoint with his own set. Also, one of the funnier things I saw, super random shit. I watched a dude damn near die in this mosh pit. You can see the look on his face as he falls down and realizes in the mosh pit that he might be seconds from it, and somebody just yanked him the fuck up and he dipped out real quick. And I showed him the video afterwards too.
I'm trapped and I can't get out. And ain't no whenever I land. Fuck the club up, 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 fuck the club up.
And then also got to Pete Matzo Cream.
I got homies in the grave, I got homies in the grave. I got something going home, I got something going in. Trying to go to visitation, but they wouldn't let me in. So I only conversation running letters with a pen. Hey! Impatience and frustration, intimidation. We throw on my team, but by the time they catch me chasing, it's out like Houston. I just like lay in my car, gas in my blood, got some hustle. Hands up! Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. Remember roaches in my ashtray and roaches in my cereal. Air Force knockoffs with the Gucci print material. Now I'm seeing teardrops on you SoundCloud niggas. Remember back when music had content and metaphors. Better for the mumble nonsense, popping handlebar. All these rappers junkies talking like they done deals. One song to scam, but the next song they killers. First time I shot the gun and neighbors call the people.
So overall, that Carnage show was a great time. Shout out to him for, again, second year in a row. Putting on a great show and bringing out a bunch of up-and-coming artists that some I was hip to and some I wasn't. And that's what South by is all about. On Saturday, I had the privilege of seeing the legend himself, Nardwuar.
You're fucking psychic genius. Intelligently smart.
There's a lot of knowledge behind those glasses.
Knowledge is extensive. Really good research.
How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that?
How do you know this? I know this shit.
Yo, what's up? This is Drake, and I'm just letting you know you gotta check out the Evaporators. I listen to it, and top notch, top shelf.
And you're watching and listening to Nardwuar's Video Vault. My email is nardwuar@nardwuar.com. feel free to ask me questions if you don't get a chance now.
At a lot of these sessions, you get to ask questions, and right off the bat, he told everybody that if you asked him a question, you got to come up and get a vinyl record, or he had like bobbleheads that were really exclusive, all this different types of shit. And just, you don't see that.
Afterwards, we'll have a question and answer. We can take any photos they want. And also, everybody asks a question gets a free record donated to me. Some of them I bought, but some by End of Veneer from Austin.
And he was showing video from when he was like 18 years old in British Columbia, doing his little radio show. And you can hear it in his voice already. He's him.
Here is me in 1988 doing a radio show.
Meet Nardwar. He's just briefing his guests. Preparation is the key to good programming.
Yeah.
What you're gonna do now?
What am I gonna do? Well, it's time right now for a Nardwar and the Human Serviette Show on CITR, FM 102, K 102 Vancouver. And it's a show, a variety show. Some people have called it a stupid variety show.
Above all else, he's amazing and he's charismatic, but he's such a good person. Like, through and through, you can really tell he cares about the shit. He cares about people. You know, he was also told no a lot in his career. Part of his presentation was he put on the big screen a rejection letter he received from the David Letterman show when Nardwar himself had sent out tapes of his radio show on some old school shit, sent out physical tapes to a whole bunch of people, hoping somebody would pick up his show. And they sent, not only did they send him a letter back that said that you were rejecting it, but they shipped the tape back to him. And he was talking about how clearly his vision wasn't seen by everybody, but that didn't mean it wasn't there.
1994, what year is it now? So I guess don't necessarily follow that routine, because according to that I should have retired when? At least in 2004. But I'm still here. So don't give up. Keep that job on the side and keep doing the entertainment stuff. Don't give up.
If you were somebody like myself that's looking to build your own thing, no matter what that is, Nardwar was insanely inspirational. And not only that, but he was dropping knowledge left and right.
When you're scared doing intro scoop, you may shake, and I'm shaking right now, but eventually, you settle down. So the same thing goes with performers. If a performer says to you they're not nervous before they perform, then they should be performing.
He also made this metaphor comparing getting slammed in a mosh pit and people who put out content getting slammed by critics, and talked about how creators can't be concerned with that.
I call it a slam pit because, I'm from the 80s. So but I love, people having a good time. But the thing is, though, if you go to a concert and you wade, I'm like filming a concert, and I wade into a whole bunch of people are slamming, people would be like, oh, that's Nardwar, let's slamming him extra hard or whatever. But who cares if I get slammed? I am part of the media. I am a content creator. Who cares? There's lots to learn. The minute you know everything, it's a minute you should quit, I believe.
And then, at the end of his thing, this is a conference. This is a professional setup conference. He crowd surfed out of the fucking room.
Oh my god.
Dude.
Oh my fucking god. Bro.
And ended up taking pictures and talking to people there for a period of time. I got to talk with him real quick, and I got to tell him, thank you, you're inspiring a lot of people. But people that talk to him, he'll really stand there and have a conversation with you. And he's done this, again, for 20 years. He's had conversations with some of the most important people in music. He absolutely does not owe anybody those conversations. And the fact that he did that, I walked out of there with a crazy extra level of respect for him. So shouts to Nardwar for being one of the realest out there, for real. So after Nardwar, I went over to Comedy Central. The Comedy Central Backyard Bash is an event that they put on every year as like a fun brunch event. They include all the Comedy Central shows and use that for themed activities. Like they had a prize wheel. There was like a dunk tank. All this is themed based on all these different Comedy Central shows. So it was the Drunk History Dunk Tank. One of the things they always make sure to do is have a shit ton of beer. They got the kegs sitting around everywhere, and you walk in and you get a couple drink tickets to go just hang out and drink with them. They had different photo ops, like you could take pictures with the cutouts of the South Park kids. So I kicked it there for a second, enjoyed some libations, and then headed to the next event. The show that, lineup-wise, I probably was looking forward to the most, as far as just having a bunch of different artists that I really, really fucked with. And it was South by Takeover's second night event. On the bill, among a bunch of others, were Valet, Reason, The Baby, J.I.D. I knew it was going to be a great show. So the first one up that I kind of come there to see was Valet, who is out of Chicago, one of my favorite up-and-coming dudes out of there, and his shit just slaps.
I want the type of design for 14, y'all. Pick up the package, the whole thing, y'all. This bitch I'm not here, I'm making here the whole thing, y'all. I gotta turn the fuck up in this bitch. I say, she give me what I want. I need a woman. I beg her at the woman. I'm up. Tell my son, hey, turn up. Hey, I roll up no more drama. I say, hey, hold up. 260 racks, if it came back, I was getting some that from a hat. Gave her plain black, please don't ask me if I'm done with your. I take no like yeah.
Light Skin Keisha also made an appearance.
Hands up! Hands up!
Then I end up on stage for Reason, who is TDE's newest signee.
Some people stuck with me, them around, got some love with me. City pushing, bunch of haters looking, hoping they gon' continue to fuck with me. Look at the niggas that wrong with me, cool niggas, thugs with me. So I'm right under the hub city, so I got some roots, some bloods with me. Fuck with me. Motherfucking noise, this is Top Dog Entertainment in this bitch. Top Dog Entertainment. You know what I mean? Bring my crew up to come a party or two. Progression shake tight, for like years on a bike. When you switch up, that's when it's hard to move. Top Dog Entertainment. Hopping out like Jack in the Box, nigga, I'm gon' shoot. If the sturdy's all that I got, nigga, time's up. Got my coins up, my balls up. So we find them, we gon' slide them, we line them.
So I haven't mentioned much of my press experience for this video, partially because I want this just to be from the perspective of a badge holder, which most of this is. But for this one, I did want to mention it just because as kind of a fan disguised as a press person, more so than just a member of the press, this shit was wild. I ended up getting to kick it backstage at this one. I ended up talking to Andrew Barber real quick back there, which was one of the craziest conversations I've ever had. I'm kicking it backstage with Valet.
If you ready to see the baby say hell yeah.
And notice how quickly after they mentioned The Baby was coming on that I got the fuck up, because that is my guy. Bro, I got to see The Baby from on the bass speaker on stage. Like, I basically finessed being the hype man for this show. I don't know how the fuck it happened, but man, it was some shit.
The baby, the baby, the baby, the baby. Let's go and say, I want that party. Awesome. It go 1, 2, 3, set. Take the best home. She like I said, I just wanna get them home. Yeah, yeah. Go on, walk good. Baby, wanna do it. Let's see your show. First thing about I just hit my man, somebody pull up in your hoodie, come by me, nigga. You got to show up to me, that nigga crazy. Don't take the shit out of you, nigga. This nigga got the kid. This shit get big on my pocket, I gotta have it. I was slap the shit out of niggas. I'm going to argue. You tripping, but I ain't trying to talk about police and talk about business. This time I'm the young nigga, can't fuck that. Now you don't fuck like a damn. Put some paper section, now they gotta bring me back in the jump in the bill. I hate that neck and I gotta go. Get to that band, I got them B-rolls. Can't find it, it's about people. You know, he wanted to
None of that shit that you can die from. Put your motherfucking cell phone lights in the air. Light man, turn your lights on.
That ain't the baby, that's
Already.
my baby.
Now look, when I say fuck out that talking, my nigga, let's link. Y'all say, bring your bitch ass up the street, huh? Bring your bitch ass up the street, huh? Bring your bitch ass up the street. Drop your location, my nigga, let's link. And you say,
Bring your bitch ass up the street.
what you say?
Bring your bitch ass up the street.
What y'all say?
Bring your bitch ass up the
The
street.
smoke, I want all of that, bitch. What a beat, huh?
Bring your bitch ass up the street.
Y'all ain't loud enough.
Bring your bitch ass up the street.
Y'all ain't loud enough.
Bring your bitch ass up the street.
He trying to drop out. We gon' hop out on feet. What we say?
Bring your bitch ass up the street.
What we say?
On the street.
What we say?
Bring your bitch ass up the street. Bring your bitch ass up the street. Bring your bitch ass up the street.
Baby, oh baby, on the count of three. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Get. Y'all ready, look. 1, 2, 3. You bitch ass nigga, we go. I love y'all.
And then J.I.D. came out, and he, again, immaculate performer, one of the biggest up-and-coming artists out there for Dreamville.
Some noise for J.I.D.
Okay, now be in my two. 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 Niggas, we like, well, I'm Zach, QAC, JC, Kelly. So I pull up to your hood. Let me know when you ready. Shit, fuck, oh, yeah, shit, yeah, what, damn, okay, what, okay, what, get right here, put right here, get it, roll it, put it, over right here. Everywhere, who got what you got, what you got, what you got, baby, we with it, from that shit, I'm talking about shit. Wow, get it, bitch, get it, see what you do, see what you do, see what you nigga, put you in it. Anybody get it, nigga, anybody get it. Shout to the side, nigga, pop it, shit, gotta drop you, do this, pop you, nigga, you talking shit, nigga.
And then J.I.D. had probably the livest mosh pit I've ever seen, at least at a rap show, towards the end of his set.
Alright, check this out. When I say never had, y'all say shit. Never had, never had. And when I say never been, y'all say, that was a bug. Never been, never been. And when I say drop that, y'all say shit. Drop that, drop that.
Austin!
Check, whoa! Never been shit, never do shit. I'll do shit. Whoa, shit, never been a bitch, never had a pull on wrist. Never had shit, never say, never had seen any bitch. Never yet, one more time. On time. Never been shit, never had shit, never do shit. I'll do shit. Whoa, shit, never been a bitch. Shit, fuck, for the red face. I'm still so sharp. Never been shit, never had shit, never do shit. I'll do shit.
It was just a crazy way to close it out. I was going back and forth between being on stage for these sets for these dudes that I like came here to see, and then just going and kicking it backstage with them. It literally was a fucking movie. So for the last day of South by Southwest, I had something completely out of left field planned, and it was thrown by Jam in the Van, which is a concert series very similar to Tiny Desk in that they have this super decked out, really wild van that they do these intimate performances in, and nobody's in there, it's just the artist. And usually you can't see it. They record them at their headquarters, but they have these artists come in and do these performances, and they had this big cultivated event that they were doing. It was out on Lake Travis in Austin, which is goddamn beautiful. It was open bar. They had like a water trampoline, a hot tub, a pool. They also had a room inside. It was a jam room upstairs that had like 15 guitars, 3 drum sets, like all these mics, all this equipment. They had some of the chefs from Top Chef there cooking food for us.
Shaking like loose change, always with the money like Bruce Wayne. Hey, feeling like young Bonaduce, feeling
When I saw the jam room, Tommy, for anybody that knows him, one of the most musically talented people I've ever run into. So I kind of saw that and was like, you know, maybe we could have a little moment here because he can really play. So Tommy started playing and this dude came up and just started singing with him and they started jamming and shit. Now we know him as the homie Doble J. So shouts to him again for kicking it with us and putting on a great performance along with my boy Tommy.
Tell Childish Parker he need to retire. He's a new man in the planet. And he is about to go out of space.
Then after that part, Tommy just put down the drumsticks, went and picked up a guitar and asked if he could play that. And they were like, hell yeah, bro, play whatever you want. He started playing that, and then this singer came up and they put on an incredible ad-lib performance as well.
I cheated myself like I knew I would. I told ya I was trouble. Yeah, you know that I'm no good.
So after they wrapped that one up, another homie decided he wanted to jump in and hopped on the drums, and they formed a little trio. They did a completely ad-libbed song.
Oh, how she shines so bright. Just like the city lights.
Jam in the Van, overall, a great experience. It was a great way to end the whole thing because I think it really emulated in one event what South by is all about in a lot of ways. The people there being willing to embrace that type of environment as well and just being comfortable with performing with people that they've never even met before. So shouts to Jam in the Van. Thank you guys again for hosting me and having us because it was a great way to send off from Austin, Texas.
That's a lot of stuff, huh?
My legs definitely felt it after that trip, but I hope you can tell after seeing all of this that South by Southwest, there's nothing like it. Between all the artists I saw, between all the random shit I ran into, between the people, the food, everything that this entails, I hope you see now why you cannot miss out on this. Especially for my millennials, I hope to see you guys out there next year, because this is the spot. For everybody that goes out to music festivals, I know there's a lot of other popular ones, but there's nothing quite like this. So once again, shout out to South by Southwest and iHeartRadio for giving me the absolute privilege of covering this experience. It changed my life. I did not come back feeling like the same person. I feel more motivated, more inspired, more a lot of things that every single year tends to send me away feeling. So I hope for everybody watching this that you enjoyed and that I see you out there next year. So thank you again to all the artists, everybody involved for making this the trip it was. And until next year.